This is Mark in the Center for Online Learning and Innovation. In my courses, I use Google Drive to make files available for my students. While these files are hosted on the internet, there's ways to keep them from attracting attention on the web outside Canisius College, or even to secure them so that only my students can access them. I'll show you how. By default, the files I create or upload to my Google Drive are only available to me after I've logged in using my Canisius username and password. But I can share files or make them available to other people at the college or anywhere else in the world. This is useful for various reasons, such as sharing files I create and update using Google's own productivity programs, or just making available very large video files. Rather than set up a sharing scheme for each file I want students to see or use, I can take advantage of the fact that in Google Drive, files inherit the sharing settings of the folder they are inside of. So I'll create a folder in Google Drive wherein I can put all the documents relevant to a single course. Next, I'll establish sharing settings for that folder by opening the sharing dialog box for the folder. I'll click Advanced to better illustrate how sharing can work in Google Drive. Next, I'll click Change to see some various options. The simplest way to share files and folders via Google Drive is what Google calls link sharing. This means simply that the file becomes available to others at a URL or web address. I can install this web address into an email on a website of some kind, or specifically in a Desire to Learn course section. Link sharing provides a strong measure of privacy, but it's important to understand its limitations. Anyone with a link, for example, means that if one of my students decided to share this file with somebody outside the class, and indeed outside Canisius College, he could do so simply by copying the link and pasting it in an email, or posting it somewhere else on the internet, for instance, maybe a message board. The recipient of the email, or anyone who came to that message board, would be able to open that file simply by clicking on the link. By choosing anyone at Canisius College with the link, I have a similar situation, but in this case, if the link was shared outside my course, it would be openable by those who have a Canisius College username and password. It would not be openable, that is, the link would not work for those folks who don't have a Canisius College username and password. That means that potentially files I share with my class under this scheme could be shared by class members with other people at Canisius College, but not beyond. Under either link sharing scheme, files I place in this folder will be theoretically available to more people than those enrolled in my class, but in practice the files remain obscure. Since I didn't choose public on the web or simply Canisius College, people on the internet will not be able to find these files using Google search engine. Unless one of my students makes the effort to share the file with somebody, for example, copying and pasting the link out of my course to some other location on the web or an email, it's unlikely anyone outside my class will ever be aware the file exists or is available at all. And generally, a professor should consider whether anything in course files are truly sensitive anyway. In my own classes, I'm unconcerned if folks outside my courses, and indeed outside Canisius College, may see my syllabi, assignment instructions, or rubrics. Now that I've created a folder and set it for sharing with my class, I'll add a file and install a sharing link for that file within my course in D2L. To add the file, I simply select it and drag it into this folder. Google Drive warns me that this file will take on the sharing settings of the folder, but that's what I want, so I'll click OK. To share the file within Desire to Learn, I'll go to the Files Sharing Settings. Now this is the file sharing settings instead of the folder sharing settings. I'll click Share. Note that it says anyone at Canisius College with a link can view. This is important and was established by the folder in which I now have this file. I could have set it for anyone at Canisius College with a link can edit. This would allow my students to be able to edit this file and add or remove files to this folder. But in this case, let's say this is a syllabus file or assignment instructions, I'd rather have my students be able to view the file but not make any changes. So I'll leave that be. Then I just want to copy this link, copy to my clipboard, click Done, go over to D2L. Here's the module I want to install the file in. I click the blue New button, choose Create a Link. I'll paste in the address and add a title that'll appear in D2L. And I'll click Create. D2L immediately creates the link. Now, by default, D2L will want to install the file as an embedded item within Desire2Learn itself. This is why you're seeing the inside of the Google Doc here in D2L. Because my students have only the ability to view the file, they won't see these editing tools that I see. If you find that for whatever reason a Google Doc is not appearing, or a Google Sheet or a Google presentation for that matter, is not appearing to either you or to your students in Desire2Learn, there may be some sort of conflict. This is easily solved. I edit the link, and I can edit it here, or I can go back out to the module view, and I choose Open as an External Resource and click Update. D2L changes the way that it handles this link now. Instead of trying to open it embedded within Desire2Learn, it'll open it in a separate window entirely. That removes the Google Doc from appearing in Desire2Learn and avoids any kind of conflict that may be getting in the way of it appearing properly. So I've shared this file with my class in Desire2Learn via a sharing link. For the most secure sharing of files and folders with students, you can share specifically with your students instead of just link sharing. In this scenario, your students are logged into their Google Drive within their browser, and Google determines whether or not you've given them permission to view a file or files. This can be easily done and managed, but it does require a little more effort. I do this by entering the email addresses of my intended recipients in the sharing dialog box. If I had to enter more than a few addresses, though, it could be tedious. Luckily, I can copy and paste a list of email addresses into this box. I'll get the list from Desire2Learn. In the Grades area, I choose Enter Grades, and then Export. I don't need any other information other than the email address. So I'll click Export to Excel, click on the file that D2L generated. Now in this example I have only 2 email addresses and only 2 enrolled students in this demonstrator course. But depending on how large your class is, this list could be quite long. And back in Google Drive, I'll paste them into this box. Since I want to create a folder where students can view but cannot edit the contents, that is, the files I want to share with them, I'll choose View from this drop-down menu, Can View. Then I click Send. My students will get a notification that I've shared a folder with them. Again, throughout the semester, I can add files into this folder, and they will be shared specifically with those students in my class list. As before, I want to share these files in Desire2Learn. In order to do that, I go to the specific file, click the sharing settings. Now, the sharing link that had been generated before when I had chosen anyone with a link or anyone at Canisius College with a link can view is gone. So instead I go to Advanced, and this is the link I want to install in Desire2Learn. Link to share only accessible by collaborators. That is, only the list of my students. So I'll copy this. I'll go over to Desire2Learn. And in the content module where I'd like to install the file, create a link. And as before, add the link and a title. Click Create. With this folder created, I can now securely share files with my students here in Google Drive. If my course section roster changes at any time after I share this folder with my students, I'll need to include those new students or remove students that have left the course. This is not difficult. I simply consult my latest course roster and add or remove emails in this sharing tool for this folder. If I've shared a file either via link sharing or directly with my students, this is what they'll see if I then link that file in Desire2Learn. They don't get a set of editing tools, but unless I've turned off the particular feature, they can print the file and they can download the file. This file is visible to the student in Desire2Learn, even though the student did not, within their browser, log in directly to their Google applications. But most students, as I have in this case, come to Desire2Learn through the portal or My Canisius. When they log into the portal, they're automatically logged into their Google applications, including Google Drive. So when they then go on to D2L, files that I've shared with them through Google Drive and linked in D2L will automatically be opened for them.